Yes, it's that time again. It's the G.I. Joburg podcast hour with your hosts, Steve, Paul, and Rob. Yo, 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 everybody.
Oh my goodness.
Hey
What?
guys.
That's explosive. I couldn't believe it. It was so explosive. It knocked Paul's lights out, guys. If you're watching the
Yeah,
podcast.
dude, I had to like reset shit.
He fell off his chair. Oh, yes. We're back. We're talking about toys, most specifically the 1986 Tomahawk and maybe a little bit of the 2011 Eagle Hawk, maybe. And this toy has been well covered on the channel, but since we like to do these long form podcast discussions about specific toys that all of us happen to have, well, its number came up. It's Tomahawk time, baby.
It's happening, guys. It's happening.
We're gonna talk squirrely about the whirly bird.
Now, this is a very unique toy to discuss, and I'll tell you why. 2 out of the 3 members of G.I. Joburg have shot reviews on the subject of this helicopter. So, Paul, since you're lagging behind, why don't you give us your opinion first?
Oh god. Okay, well, should I go full review? Or should I just go first?
Ladies and
first
gentlemen,
brush?
he's stuck in first gear. He can't quite get off the starting blocks. What do you want to talk about, man?
Dude.
Do you have a vested interest in this toy? A love for this toy? Because
For the Tomahawk, holy hell, big time.
ooh, yeah.
I do love the Tomahawk, but it's like the Tomahawk is like that girl that you knew in high school that you guys were friends with, or that you guys were friends, and then that one time you guys hooked up, and then you had to go your separate ways in life, and you never really managed to come back. That's what the Tomahawk is for me. It was such a great experience because I never actually owned one, but I did have one in my childhood years to mess with. That sounds dirty as I carry on with this analogy.
The analogy is you were messing with someone else's girlfriend.
Ooh. But that's the thing.
The
Tomahawk
forbidden fruit.
Oh, dude. So I don't know if that enhanced the toy for me, if that enhances the Tomahawk for me, or what. But it's always been like that special vehicle. It's always been a special vehicle for me in that respect. So it's the one that got away, and then the one I got is not quite the same.
Explain.
Well, for starters, it doesn't have glass in the front canopy at the bottom.
It's an Eagle Hawk.
Because it's an Eagle Hawk.
No, Paul. No.
Yeah.
Tomahawk Light. What about you,
You
Rob?
you poo-poo it, but I mean, so for a lot of people, it was really the only option, and it was.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it really did improve. There were a lot of improvements. I mean, probably the biggest and most important improvement: removable rotor blades. I think anyone who owns an original Tomahawk will be able to tell you that this thing, yes, the vehicle itself is very compact. It's beautiful. It's very straightforward. But the rotors just take up huge amounts of space. And where
Initially
you keep
intended to be a one-time fit on the original,
as with any vintage GI Joe vehicle, it's like you snap it together. It's not meant to come apart after that. Like it's one and done. So thankfully, in the modern era, that is one thing that they did fix with it. And obviously, yes, they did some other changes to it to make it more spacious for modern era figures, which I think was appreciated. And I mean, if I'm being honest, I prefer the layout in the back, that the chairs are rooted in there. I do prefer that than taking them out. Yes, you do lose some of the modularness of the back area, but I like that you can rely on the chairs to stay in there. Because I imagine 40-year-old vehicles, I mean, eventually whatever keeps those things in there, those little tabs are not going to be the happiest little tabs forever.
I'll address that right now and say that it's pretty durable. Like that, it's not the tabs are small. It's 2 tabs and 1 pin. But because it's not an ABS or hard, like brittle plastic, it is the more forgiving flexi plastic. Those original Tomahawk seats are you're able to clip in and out ad infinitum with impunity. You're not going to see any tabs. I am currently of the opinion that my Tomahawk should go without them, because much like the kind of helicopter play the Tomahawk encourages you to do, having that diamond plate deck just completely empty is far more useful than the 5 seats that it has arranged in it. Like, if you stick with the standard, your capacity is really low. If, however, you take those seats out,
you are laughing all the way to the bank.
The helicopter is capable of carrying 12.
Everybody's drunk.
Is in, I wouldn't say, but like it's realistic. Like, they're absolutely in there, shoulder to shoulder, feet dangling out the back and the sides, but they're all in there in a very believable, like, helicopter, workhorse, air cavalry, Vietnam, missing in action with Chuck Norris, or Apocalypse Now. Yeah, all of that stuff, all of that amazing kind of point of reference comes bubbling up when you see a Tomahawk completely decked out with dudes.
I do want to also mention that when I was a kid, and I think I have actually kind of alluded to this in earlier podcasts and stuff about the Tomahawk, I never knew it had seats, because the version that I had played with didn't have those seats in it. So I do take Rob's point on that. And it had one of the guns. So I remember, like, that was the only way I got a G.I. Joe to sit in there, is by kind of straddling the gun.
Hold on for dear life, guys.
Which is a better way to, like, fire any kind of weapon, with it centered between you, like between your legs. Like, the Tomahawk with its seating would encourage you to have them kind of like, sort of like shooting at a bit of an awkward angle, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
One hand.
I'm just going to shoot you out the window.
Yeah, you got it right, Paul. You got it right.
And to add to something that Rob was saying earlier, like the Eaglehawk, the thing that makes the Eaglehawk disappointing, is it's like you've got so much like innovation in the Eaglehawk, and then you have silly things like you got seating in there, but modern era figures are meant to like peg with their feet into the floorboard, and that's not going to get them to stay in there. And then when they do, they're kind of like hovering above the chair, so their bums kind of hover above it. And then you do a little bit of you bank to the left, or bank to the right, and your modern era figure like falls out. So I did a mod on Rob's and mine's where I just drilled in like a little hole and used a model, like a runner, like a bit of model sprue. Which is the same size as the backpack hole for the modern era figures, and then you can plug them in there and they sit really comfortably. But that's the thing with the Eaglehawk. It's like so many good things, but at the same time, stupid things. Like there's no follow through on some of the coolness of it.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I would say original Tomahawk does win as an overall package. But the Eaglehawk does obviously have those niggling issues and some things that are improvements. But I think, yes, obviously the original Tomahawk is the best version of the T-Hawk, E-Hawk that you could possibly get. So if you are in the market for one.
In the Eaglehawk's favor, though, that I was thinking about today. So the Tomahawk has these 6 bombs on the winglets. Yeah, you call them canards, I suppose, or sponsons. But those bombs always seemed like an oddity to me. Like, you don't often think of a helicopter as a free fall bomb dropper. There are examples of helicopters doing that, but they are kind of sparse. Helicopters are typically armed with guns, rockets, air-to-surface missile launchers. Like, those are like the primary armaments of a helicopter, and of course, door gunners, that sort of thing. Like, hovering over your target and dropping a bomb, while a helicopter is a very stable platform for bomb dropping, because it's just like it's very slow, it's very vulnerable. You don't want to be overflying. I don't know. These are just reasons that make sense to my amateur brain. But with the Eagle Hawk, are those bombs not designed a bit more? There's a bit more embellishment to them. They have fins. They look conceivably like they could be missiles, or at least rockets. Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
got
that's
more of that
something
vibe
nice
to them.
about the 2011 redesign.
Yeah, they do feel like more like missiles. Yeah, for sure.
And,
Because the Tomahawk's bombs look just like bombs. They are very simple
You can't
molds,
mistake
very
them for
smooth.
anything except bombs.
Yeah, you'd feel a bit silly, I think, using them as rockets or missiles because the shape just doesn't suggest that they have any kind of propellant.
Mm.
The Eagle Hawk also has like a, I don't want to call it a hidden play feature, but a play feature that sort of is is assisted by, I think it's Roadblock's backpack that came with the Rise of Cobra movie.
Yep, lots of rope, as I recall.
So you got all those ropes, but you also got those backpacks, and it's got those backpack peg holes on the side of the helicopter, so you can use it as like a zip line, to rappel down. It's kind of like a feature. It's like a fun feature if you do that, and it kind of looks like it is designed to accommodate it.
Aren't there peg holes on the back gates as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, like, I think that it would have. I mean, I appreciate the sort of Easter egg kind of feature to it, but I think it would have been cool had the Eagle Hawk come with that, one of those things as an accessory or as just part of the peripherals in the box, because I feel like you're missing out on one of the great characteristic features of the Eagle Hawk over the Tomahawk. So it's one of those examples of the Eagle Hawk being an improvement, but then also just not following through and delivering that coolness the way it should have.
I mentioned that two of us did reviews on the Tomahawk and Eagle Hawk. I will link them below if you care to watch them and get our opinions. One of them is actually an unboxing, very creative unboxing of the Eagle Hawk.
By the hoary hordes of Hogarth, you'll absolutely enjoy it. If you don't mind
how these bad boys were packaged back in the day.
But to this day, I'm still bad at compressing audio. Like the way it is, guys.
All is forgiven, man. It is a delight to watch and listen to. Well scripted. The Tomahawk itself found its debut in the pages of the Marvel comic in issue 49.
No, I knew it.
You did?
Yeah, I knew it. I just did. You know, it's the same issue that the Thunder Machine came in, wasn't it?
Not quite. No. This is the beginning of the assault on Springfield.
Oh, I'm thinking of the cartoon. The cartoon is where they both share the first episode together.
Ooh. Yes, issue 49. We see that the Tomahawk has an assault team of like the baddest of the bad G.I. Joes. They're tasked with moving in and taking out the Springfield Police Department, cutting off electricity supply, water supply, basically like they're the infiltration team. It's Snake Eyes, it's Quick Kick, it's Spurt, it's Beachhead, it's Stalker, it's Gung Ho, Torpedo, Recondo, and Scarlet. And they're in the back of a Tomahawk with, I might add, a door.
Yes, this is something you'll notice a lot. Like, depending on the media, this thing has lots of different configurations.
Oh, yes. So, yes, that is the debut of the Tomahawk in the page. You might have alluded to it already. Arise Serpento Arise.
Yes.
Is where you first see them animated. That would have been September of 1986.
Yeah, season 2, episode 1. Yeah, great times. Real good use of it, I think, you know. Although, you might mention it pretty soon, it was featured in a later episode in that same season. I believe it was episode 20 or 22, called The Golden Fleece. A very esoteric and absolutely insane episode of the cartoon, where if you haven't watched it, essentially Cobra and G.I. Joe are fighting each other randomly in the ocean. And while they're doing that, just out of nowhere, like literally out of nowhere, everyone is like, what's that in the sky? There's suddenly a spaceship. It just kind of floats through the battlefield. And they're all like,
okay.
Is it a bird? I mean, who says that?
What's going on here? And then they kind of like Cobra shoots it, and then like this little thing pops out, which I thought initially was quite big, but it's actually quite small. I mean, I don't know, it's less than 30 centimeters in length, and that somehow sends them, the Joes and the Cobras, back in time, where they essentially establish the reason for a lot of the Greek myths associated with Jason and the Argonauts, with the Argonaut being the mishearing of Tomahawk, and Sergeant Slaughter being mistaken for Heracles, and Lifeline is the god of healing, and the Tomahawk goes on pontoons. It is an absolutely wild episode. Wow.
They make them like they used to, huh?
They really don't. I was just blown away. And then the episode ends with like the golden fleece being taken back by the spaceship people. And they're like, oh, why'd you lose your hyperdrive unit again? Burr, burr, burr.
Oh,
why'd
man.
you do that?
Well, I think the Tomahawk, once it had arrived on the scene, like, firstly, I think the first season of Sunbow is hugely impoverished by it not being there. Because as soon as the Tomahawk's around, boy, oh boy, it's pretty much in every single episode.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show how absolutely essential, like a helicopter workhorse like the Tomahawk, something versatile that's got an attack helicopter function, but also a troop carrier. I mean, from its very first appearance in Rise of Pinto,
before that, they're essentially all flying around in their own personal Sky Strikers. You know, it's like, how do they get somewhere? They each take their own Sky Striker. You know, they get dropped
or
off,
Dragonfly or Skyhawk. But yeah, I mean, to be able
to
cram a whole team into a Tomahawk, essential. Its first introduction is like there's this words. There is this conflict that we have between Lift Ticket and his pretty much his standard occupant, which is Lifeline. He's always bumming around in the Tomahawk.
He's like, hand me the wrench. Oh, I can't do that. I can't help you repair a machine that could kill people. I can't do that.
Not exactly going to endear your watching public to Lifeline's cause.
You've taken
G.I. Joe, dude.
You've taken his I don't want to kill people thing to the extreme, where he won't even hand a wrench that'll help fix a thing. Then why are you in the G.I. Joe team in the first place?
Yeah, he's quite insipid in the.
My goodness. I was like, why are you like this?
But swinging back to the Tomahawk, I mean,
yes.
To the Tomahawk's comic book appearance, for example, like, what is it doing there otherwise? I mean, like, does it get shot down in its first issue? Like, what goes down? Does it survive?
It lands the troops and then dusts, not to be seen again in the assault of Springfield.
Boring.
It achieves its mission. And then the rest of the conflict is fought on the ground, which, had G.I. Joe been able to deploy its air power perhaps a bit more proficiently, I don't know, if there was more air power in play, then the Battle of Springfield might have gone down differently. But maybe they're having trouble operating after dark. I mean, the Dragonfly manages to do a couple of strafing runs, but yeah, I don't know. The Battle of Springfield is not G.I. Joe's finest hour. Maybe if they deployed the Tomahawk a bit more wisely, things would have been different. But Serpentor won the day. Anyway, let's not get too stuck on that, because my favorite cartoon appearance is in G.I. Joe the movie, where we see Tomahawks deployed in the Himalayas, bringing the rawhides in.
With the closed doors again?
It's got a closed door for winter operations.
Brilliant.
The rawhides also managed to jumpstart a Tomahawk by spinning the blades manually.
Oh, yes.
Chuckles. But it's quickly shot down by Salad. Now, I have a problem with the Tomahawk being used as widely as it is. I mean, yes, it was absolutely the best toy for it, but I think it shines best in the kind of the desert setting, which is what it's kind of coded as with that color scheme. I think if you start applying it to winter ops, I know a lot of people customize it and 3D print doors for it. I
Ooh,
think that
nice.
I don't know, man. I personally I don't like the look. I think the Tomahawk is best served as this kind of bare bones, thin in the gills, like really open helicopter operating in like a dusty desert environment. I'd sooner use a different whirlybird than to adapt it to other environments. I don't know.
Interesting.
You guys agree?
Adapting to other environments, like adding the doors and things on, like for me that kills the toy side of it, because
And then putting it in the snow.
Yeah, I appreciate the realism behind there. If guys want to like elevate their G.I. Joe collection to a point of like more believability, but I think it's better when it's open, when the stuff's all open and you can get in there and get there with your toys and just have fun without having to worry about breaking a door or snapping its pegs or having to slide something or it getting caught on a figure's gun or whatever. So from a toy perspective, I'm full on with it being open, and I don't really love the idea of modding it, because I also think if you're going to deploy in a cold region, that you can use other vehicles for that. Notably,
so we're in agreement
like rail.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I mean, there's so many other vehicles that do have like cool doors that kind of open and close, especially on those Chapmate toys and all of that, I think. But they do tend to get in the way of playability. That's, I think, the biggest advantage of the Tomahawk is that those openings. Steven is showing off his varied non-G.I. Joe vehicles in his room.
Which you guys should be able to catch a video of soon enough, if it's not out already, Steve.
Yes. I'm doing a showcase of some Chapmate vehicles and equipment that that I used to use quite a bit back in the early 2000s. But good stuff that sadly isn't as spoken about as I'd like it to be.
Wild.
Good substitutes for G.I. Joe toys. Anyways, I'll put a link in the description.
Substitutes, very important. But playability of the Tomahawk is huge because of the open doorways. But, more power to people. I mean, I feel like we can go into any environment. I don't think the colors kind of have to lock it down to a desert environment. I feel like if it's their transport helicopter, why have different ones for different weather conditions? I think land vehicle wise, it makes sense. Like you'd have a specific snow vehicles versus desert vehicles versus wherever. But for air vehicles, like just use whatever. And like also, I would love. I mean, someone must have done this, like a Tiger Force version of this.
I've seen that. There's even an official. When I say official, there's even a semi-official version of it. I think they did a convention exclusive E-Hawk in Tiger Force colors. It was a part of that convention exclusive set. Could be, but Tiger Force.
The Tiger Hawk from 2015. Oh, there I see it. Oh, that is gorgeous.
Show us.
That's sexy.
While Rob is rousing up that image from the depths of the internet, I would like to mention that I think the Sunbow cartoon and the comic book, to a degree, kind of want us to imagine that the T-Hawk can fly really, really long distances, like that it's operational, fuel, whatever's, I can't remember the actual
range
term for it. It's operational range. Thank you, Steve. It's like that simple. It's like incredibly long, and a lot of the time, camouflage on aerial vehicles is more for when they're parked rather than when they're airborne.
Yeah,
I know that there are exceptions. Like helos do benefit from having camouflage because they generally fly at lower altitudes, but radar sees them anyway. But yeah, when they're parked, that's where you want the camouflage to work. So I suppose you could also like posit the idea that the T-Hawks are always parked in a deserty kind of space anyway, and they fly incredibly long ranges to go and deploy Joes, which is just ridiculous because there should be an in-flight movie in that thing.
Something should be going on. Well, take a look at this. Is this not absolutely gorgeous? So I'm showing a picture courtesy of yojo.com.
Sexy.
Absolutely amazing. And the rotors are red. They've put the mouth on it. They put the eyes on it. It's a really good variant of the Eagle Hawk.
So happy looking. I'm Timmy the Tiger Hawk.
I didn't ever think this would be a hot take, but since you're fawning over it, boys, I guess I'll be the dissenting opinion and say I don't like this. I don't think it
How
looks
very
good.
dare you?
I think the mouth looks awkward because it has to loop around what is already quite a bulbous glassed-in canopy.
Yes, look how happy it is.
The Tiger Force detailing looks quite flat and quite broad. Like it feels tighter on things like the Tiger Cat or Tiger Fly, whereas something as big as a Tomahawk starts to kind of stretch it out and make it look
How
chalky.
cool are those red rotors, though? Oh,
nah,
Those are
man.
Steven's favorites.
Guys, this is not doing anything for me. Like the Tomahawk with its desert camo scheme, the mottled is perfection. I think this is a misstep.
Is this an aberration, an abomination?
It's highly sought after and fetches a pretty high price tag. So this is absolutely a grail for Tiger Force collectors or for people who just like exotic toys. So power to them.
More power to them. But Steven is he's dissenting. He says, "No thanks, guys. You can keep this expensive toy."
I think this is like a bit of a deep reference, but go and check out the tiger striped helicopter from Far Cry 3. So there's a Black Hawk in Far Cry 3 that's got a tiger deco on it, and I've always loved that as an idea. Like the way that was executed, for me, that should be how a Tomahawk should become a Tiger Hawk.
Love it.
I love this Tiger Hawk toy. I think it's very cool, but I also don't like the eyes and the mouth positioning. But I can't speak to any. I don't have any issues with the other stuff, just the mouth and the eye positioning as well. So.
Wild.
The best media appearance of the Tomahawk, arguably. I mean, there are lots to choose from, and I just saw a preview of the forthcoming issue 314 of A Real American Hero by Larry Hama, and it features the Tomahawk heavily. And like he's dipped his feet in that well more times than he hasn't. So the Tomahawk is absolutely the vehicle du jour. But like to plumb the depths of the comic book catalog, let's go all the way back to 1988, an issue of Special Missions called Getting There, issue 19. And it is the finest showcase of the Tomahawk, bar none.
Yeah, we've spoken about this before. It is a very cool thing. Carry on, Steve.
So good. Ironically, we spoke about it on this very channel, but a different show. It was called Chasing Joe.
No ways. That was episode 14.
Episode 20. The last episode we recorded, actually.
So close.
And Getting There is, without a doubt, just the finest showcase of the Tomahawk. It deals with a rescue mission or an exfiltration mission deep inside unfriendly territory, Wild Bill and Lift Ticket, of course. And their crew, bunch of 1988 stalwarts plus Lifeline. It's Muskrat and Repeater are the gunners. In order to extend their range, they're just loaded with jet fuel. So they like fuel up mid-flight, and the Tomahawk is just soaking up every single panel depicted in like nighttime maneuvers, zooming low over the water to try and avoid detection. Just the speed that you see and the incredible amount of damage that this helicopter absorbs. Yeah, it absolutely is the star of the show. And I love a special missions that does this, that deals with a small team doing a very like boilerplate mission for Joe's. You don't get this in the kind of the soap opera main title. This kind of micro focus on Joe's just doing the mission, just doing what they're best.
Just getting something done and just featuring some cool characters and vehicles. Yeah.
Getting there. Oh, that's a helicopter on helicopter action with two Soviet Union Hind gunships. Oh, it's the greatest. Absolutely.
Check it out, guys.
Check out our podcast. Check out the issue. Also, check out, if you dare, G.I. Joe Operation Blackout, the one and only video game appearance of the Tomahawk. Can you believe it, boys?
It was in a video
Is
game?
it?
No way.
It is, but it's not
Why?
playable. It's a boss battle.
What?
In Operation Blackout, you alternate between controlling Cobra characters and Joe characters. In one sequence, you're controlling Destro and Baroness. They've just completed a mission and they're escaping in a Hiss 2. And they're driving down this ravine. And the boss at the end of this perilous drive is none other than an Eaglehawk.
Wow, I'm sure Steven would be very happy to fight this fight. Destroy the hated Eaglehawk.
I haven't gotten there yet. I mean, I had purchased the game. Haven't really made time to play it much. But with this boss battle in my future, maybe it'll motivate me to play it some more. I mean, it's got a life bar. You fire at it a couple of times, it hits the dirt, and you drive off into the sunset. But unceremonious for G.I. Joe's premier helicopters, just being a boss.
That is unfortunate.
You don't get to actually play as a G.I. Joe. Like the Joe campaign doesn't have you flying the Eaglehawk.
Missed opportunity. 100% missed.
Well, is it even like a worthwhile moment? Like, do you even like feel like, oh my word, this thing is like a real pain in my butt?
It kind of zooms overhead and then just kind of hovers ahead of you.
And probably like banks left and right to make it more difficult to hit.
It fires its main gun, which is like a kind of a blaster, like it's a blue energy. Boo to that. Should be a 20mm cannon, rotary cannon.
Yeah,
and it drops mines.
Sorry.
Okay, that's a very interesting adaptation.
It also drops health for you as you kill it. It keeps you alive. That's Lifeline. He's tossing out healing potions.
Oh, guys, suck. Don't kill them. Come on.
Yeah.
Here's
the first aid kit.
No.
Like, your mother smells like elderberries. Also, here's more health. Here's the med pack.
So you spoke of the range of this thing, Paulie. Let's look at the numbers. There is a order of battle entry for the Tomahawk.
Of course.
Speed of 175 miles per hour, and that's fully loaded.
With a 2-man
200. Yeah. Well, pilot, co-pilot. But it can do 240 miles per hour without any severe loads.
Wow.
Yeah, unloaded and with minimum armament is the way that they describe it, which is that's fairly quick. I mean, it's certainly quicker than the real life Sea Knight helicopter that it's based upon, at least structurally based upon. I mean, it borrows. Look, if we're going to speak about like real life references, it borrows from so many helicopters. I do think like the designers canvassed a lot of whirlybirds, didn't necessarily settle on one, and that's why it's over designed. Tandem rotor hubs and then also a tail rotor, and then like
it's helicopter sex, man.
3 jet engines, that enormous kind of split exhaust at the back. It's got a lot of business.
It's like a cat, It's like a cat. It's like lots of dads, one mom, one helicopter to prove them all, to prove what the dads were. Yeah. Sorry.
It has a range of 320 miles. Only 320 miles fully loaded, which is quite short, actually, Paul. But then, like it says that if it's unloaded, it can fly 1,750 miles. Now, that's an unrealistic discrepancy.
Feels way too much. Because, I mean, fully loaded, it can go just under 2 hours, depending on how fast it travels, 175 miles per hour. So that's basically 2 hours of distance. That's wild. So it can go way further with no one on board.
Yeah, it can fly 10 hours, basically.
That's insane. Nah, son.
I think someone fudged the numbers there, but the numbers are pretty good otherwise. It talks about the fact that it's got 6 times 250-pound canard wing-mounted general-purpose demolition bombs. Yeah, they certainly do look like bombs. And then 2 short-range air-to-air, radio-controlled, visually sighted missiles. The
Those
blueprints
gigantic ones underneath there, really? Short
don't
range?
like that they're air to air. I think they're more air to surface, but we'll see these discrepancies get kind of ironed out. The blueprints will probably be useful.
A lot more useful. Well, I mean, the detail I found really nice was the way they describe it on the back of the box.
Okay.
So on the back of the box, it says, the Joes are going in for a strike. This ominous-looking copter. Ominous-looking. It's an interesting way of describing it. Has a complete arsenal of bombs and missiles carried below its canard wings. Arsenal. It's part of the new Modern Army G.I. Joe collection of vehicles, weapons, figures, and accessories. Use it to help G.I. Joe defend democracy and battle his evil enemy, Cobra.
Blueprints, courtesy of 3D Joe's, very useful and very accurate. I'd say like of all blueprints, the Tomahawk feels the least janky. Like all the numbers seem to check out to my amateurish eyes.
They put a lot of effort into this, a lot of love, I think.
6-barreled 20mm cannon. Yes, I've counted. There are indeed 6 barrels to that cannon. The dorsal guns are 50 cal machine guns.
With indeed 22mm. Sorry, carry on.
Laser enhanced, you bastard. But for our purposes, I mean, we spoke about the larger missiles. The fact that the blueprints call them, let's find it, air-to-ground anti-obstacle missile. And that's point number 17.
That is more accurate.
I buy that a little bit more.
I mean, especially when everything else, at least armament-wise, allows it to attack the ground. You know, its air defense is essentially... Oh, I suppose it's not really meant to defend itself from the air. You know, its defense is to get away, or have some sort of accompanying troop of, I suppose, dragonflies or something else that would, lend support to it as bombing.
To protect it from air threats, you're going to have a Sky Striker offering top cover. Like realistically, that's what you want. You want an air superiority fighter to swat anything out of the sky that looks at you funny. Because
I suppose more appropriately at this time, I'm thinking of the cartoon. It would be the Conquest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, in the cartoon, you'd use a Tomahawk to dogfight a Night Raven. Like, let's be real here. Yes, there's no real discrepancy between aircraft that are set up for ground attack or aircraft that are set up to fight other aircraft. Like everything just fights everything else. But if you think about these things in realistic terms, a Tomahawk would need Sky Strikers or Conquests to keep it safe from air threats. Ah, man. The only thing that is a misstep is point 8 on the blueprints, which speaks about a 6-person capacity staging / storage area. Now, I suppose 6 if you got one guy standing, but there are only 5 seats.
It's
easy if you're seeing it in side profile. If the person who wrote the copy for the blueprints only saw the side profile, it's easy to think that, yes, there would be 2 seats in the forward position. Instead, it's that strange thing of like 4 seats sort of back to back and then 1 seat up front. Like a mission commander is going to give you a briefing. So that's why he sits facing backwards, facing his troops. But like if you're just looking at it sideways, or side on in a 2-dimensional image, you'd be forgiven for thinking that there are 2 seats side by side there.
But thankfully, whoever wrote this got everything else real good. It's very well described.
Yeah, man. Now, the Brits gave us a tactical arms compendium entry for the Tomahawk. I mean, of course they did.
Like, what did they say?
They
said a lot. I don't know if we're really going to be reading all the copy. I mean, they did the standard like isometric view with all the sort of the points, but then they did this cool write-up. Oh man, it's worth going on to Blood for the Baron just to read the TAC entry for the Tomahawk. But there are 2 things that I want to pull out. The first is it's got a FFV HSSS. which stands for
Bless you.
Helicopter Self-Screening System, which is a
What does that
5-tube
do?
launcher which can fire a volley of smoke rockets about 330 feet ahead of the Tomahawk. These rockets generate a smoke screen impervious to human vision, lasers, and infrared seekers for about 2 to 30 seconds. Seems like a bit of a wide gulf. Anywhere between 2 to 30 seconds we're covered. But that's interesting. Like, I mean, it's hokey, very cartoony, but like, I suppose it's like a chaff screen or flares. Like, it's basically throwing up a smoke screen that.
No, it's an iron wall.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to be visually detected, but it seems to also throw off other detection systems. Nice.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
cool.
other nice details to pick out, or I mean, is that they do suggest it can have its range is almost indefinite because it is plumbed to take an in-flight refueling probe.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder where the probe would be on the Tomahawk.
Yeah. How would it? I mean,
Like
somewhere.
a cat. It's hidden.
You're obsessed with cats on this episode.
I'm sorry, I'm learning about cats.
I think another cool detail is they actually mention at the end of the article where they suggest how many are actually in service with the Action Force.
That's interesting.
Where they actually mention they usually have around 64 Tomahawks, split between 4 air mobile squadrons, a heavy lift unit, and 2 SAR flights. Regular reorders for Tomahawks are made to replace those lost in combat or accidents. So that's interesting. I don't know why, but I always, whenever I think of these things, I think they're like a unique one. You know, it's like that we have the Tomahawk.
Sure. A hero vehicle.
Or the Dragonfly. You know, and maybe not everything, but some of them I've never thought like, oh, okay, they would have an absolute ton of these things. And that's a cool thing to mention.
It is in support of the way Action Force was structured.
They had multiple different.
It was different to G.I. Joe in the sense that, like, the membership was full of green shirts, like disposable Action Force troopers. So having 64 helicopters, boy, did they rinse through them quickly. Like, I have an issue. It's within reach, but I mean, I can just describe it. Where like Flint is in charge of a squad of a flight of 4 Tomahawks, and like all of them get shot down. All of them. Like they just absolutely rinse through these helicopters. And that is
the best.
That is the Action Force way. It's like this is conflict, and there are heavy losses. Even on the
they wouldn't have lost any helicopters if Duke was in charge. I'm just saying.
It gets a bit cheesy because it's always a no-name character that gets hit. Like Lift Ticket's in the cockpit, and he's like, "My co-pilot's bought it." The co-pilot doesn't have a code name, doesn't have just to add weight to the conflict. The good guys also incur losses. The losses are always the losses are always guy. You know, he was my guy. He was my main guy.
He was my favorite co-pilot.
Peter Pilot.
No.
But look, it was a different way of handling things. Whereas G.I. Joe in the States, characters had plot armor until they didn't. Until it was time for a big cull in the desert with a saw viper.
Guys, how do you typically play with your Tomahawks? Like, is it okay? I'm gonna like kick it off with how I do it because I have an idea. Like Steve and Rob are gonna go nuts with the cool stuff that they used to do as well. But I always like the idea of. Well, I've always found that Tomahawk you can play with as a play set. Like it can be like something in the like motor pool or something that you have to defend. You know, like while it's being repaired or something. It's always had like that kind of vibe to it.
So do you have your engine covers open, Paulie?
Yeah. When I discovered you could do that. Like Michael Kerrigan's Tomahawk. Yep, I opened them in engine covers.
There are 3 in the front and 2 in the back for a total of 5 distinct covers.
It really is like a cat.
don't know where that's going, but okay. Meow.
So I love that kind of aspect of it. And then you could also like use it as a vehicle for like your strafing runs and whatever. Even though that's not like the best use of it, but you could do that. You know, you could have it as your like gunship. And then I love the and as a grown up, I kind of enjoyed this quite a bit, where I just kind of have some Joes in it. It was in the Tomahawk, in this case the Eagle Hawk, and just kind of like have it holding it in the air, and you like they're on their way to a mission, and then like the banter and the chats and everything that goes on in there, you know.
So good.
And that's also playing with it, and it's cool, you know. That's something, yeah.
There's a moment in getting there which I love to make mention of, and it's where just before the shit hits the fan proper, Repeater steps into the cockpit and offers Wild Bill and Lift Ticket a flask of coffee. And it's just, you've got that interior space to do that. There's access, like there's, you know, this flow from the cargo section, the troop section, into the cockpit. Like, it would be hell of a fiddly to try and get the toys to do that, but at least in your mind, you can play that your guy is coming from the cabin into the cockpits and saying, "Hey, Wild Bill, Lift Ticket, do you guys want a cup of Joe?" So, yeah, man, lovely moments that can play out in the interior. But speaking of play, Robbie, how did we play?
How did we play? I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, the main thing obviously would be the transport. It's kind of like loading everyone in there. You just had the briefing. You have to get them somewhere. So the Tomahawk would be the main way of getting to a place when you didn't, you know, want to just pile them into some silly chapmate thing and just like stare at them from above. Not very fun.
You
I mean, it can be fun. It can be. Well, of course it was fun, but like just piling dudes into the Tomahawk was just so much cooler. You know, kind of put them in there, and then yeah, it's the traveling. It's the getting there. You know, there was this as exciting as the actual mission itself. You know, it's kind of like spending moments like, you know, them catching up. Yeah, I think those are the moments that I think enjoyed the most of the Tomahawk. I'm trying to offhand. I'm trying to think of like actual missions where it was used like bomb things, but
I'll tell you why it might be difficult to think of those missions, Robbie. Because we got the Tomahawk pretty late in the game.
Fair enough.
This, quite famously, is the toy that I think I played with for the longest time without even having the toy. The idea of the Tomahawk was sufficient. Every mission needed a Tomahawk. We didn't own a Tomahawk. So we used every other toy to substitute. It started with the bus, with that Playmobil bus.
Like literally, we needed that. Nice. The interior. We just needed.
We just played out the interior scenes, Paul. So like the roof of this bus could lift
off. That's awesome.
It had a cab with 2 seats in the front, and then it had a troop section in the back. And that's where we would play out our conversations, our kind of like, you know, we're getting to the infiltration, or we're getting to the combat zone. So everyone's kind of huddled up and ready. And then the back gate could flip down and we jump out and off we went into the mission. So that was playing with the Tomahawk without having a Tomahawk.
Yeah,
so we got upgraded.
Needed it. You know,
absolutely, and it's essential to any G.I. Joe mission. How could it not be? Then we upgraded to chap-made toys like the, I called it a Chinook. It's not really a Chinook.
No,
it's somewhere between a Chinook and a Sea Knight.
Chinookish.
But that was by Chap-May. We then upgraded to the Osprey, and only after that did we find. We even called the Chap-made Chinook the Tomahawk 2. That was how big our Tomahawk envy had gotten to that point. We had to
She-Hawk.
You know, we had to like dub it. We couldn't call it the Tomahawk. We wanted to, but it's like it's the successor.
Magnus is the Luke.
And then eventually, I think in the dying phases of our like the time we could conceivably continue to play with toys, like our early to maybe mid-20s.
Finally came in.
Finally got Tomahawk. It arrived the same day your killer whale arrived, Rob. What an amazing unboxing day that was for this guy. Came back, and this massive box was in my parents' room, and inside it, I fished out my Tomahawk. I got to play a little bit with your whale before packaging it up for your birthday, but man, that I had tears in my eyes. I felt like this was an important moment in my collecting. It was. Unironically, the Tomahawk is the greatest G.I. Joe vehicle in my eyes forever. It will never be surpassed or even approached. And that puts it over the Defiant, the Flag, the Terradrome, the Night Raven, the Warthog, the Bug. The Tomahawk's number one for me, boys.
We are very aware of that. Like, I mean, it's not my number one, but it's definitely up there. Although I say that, but actually I think it is very close to being like, yeah, it almost rivals the Warthog for me in some ways.
1.5.
Another local.
Which one's it going to be? Are those the top two spots?
Those are my top two spots. I mean, it's like a T-Hawk and the Warthog are like just. It's hard because it's T-Hawk, Warthog, Bug. Those are like the big ones for me because I grew up with them. You know, so I have that like strong connection, and my childhood me can still enjoy those toys as a kid. Like I remember how I enjoyed them as a kid. So that like experience is not tainted by adult me who is trying to get in touch with my childish side, you know. So as we're talking, I mean, I still love my Warthog. My Warthog is like up there, but I think Tomahawk comes in at a close second. Like it's like a hair, you know. And it's on other days it might be different, you know. It's a thing. And I'm just thinking like this whole. I would love to see
Tomahawk is the Warthog of the skies.
It is indeed, and it really floats. No, it doesn't. I think it would be such a cool like. I think it would be worth trying for us to do a play motion series that is just like the Tomahawk before the mission and the Tomahawk after the mission, like coming back, and like that kind of band, like not have any like action scenes or anything, just those moments in the T-Hawk, and like make them like super short, like they're like 1 minute long, like shorts. You know, it could be quite interesting. It could be an interesting exploration, maybe to you, fellow viewers and listeners.
Interesting exercise.
If you want to get in on that, please do. I would love to see what you come up with and what kind of stories you come up with and how that strings together. Because I think there's so much that happens in those moments. And also, dear viewers and listeners, you need to get yourself, and thank you, Mr. Jim Godfrey. Long ago when I got the Eagle Hawk, in a care package that Jim sent me was a Playmobil radio, like a little Playmobil boombox for my E-Hawk, so that I can play that song from the opening of Predator. Yeah, the name of which escapes me right now. I totally looked at it before we started the episode and it just farted out. But that is such a great accessory to have for your Tomahawk. Yeah. Or E-Hawk.
You need it.
You need it, man.
Have a good time tonight. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Have a good time tonight.
And also, can somebody tell me why transport helicopters go red inside? Like
to preserve your night vision.
Oh, so is that what it is for the troops?
Also, it's a spectrum of light that, you know, isn't going to bleed. Like if you have a helicopter that's blacked out otherwise, and you've got a cabin light that's, you know, just regular white light, it's going to have a lot of white light spill. It's going to be a very noisy light, red. Like that's why those angle head lanterns or lamps, you know, they all have a red lens, because you can see what you're doing, but it's not going to give your position away as readily. It's just a clear light.
Easily, yeah.
It's a very personal
sort of
light.
Googling. It's your personal light. This little line.
Well, Rob, where does the Eagle Hawk / Tomahawk sit in your rankings?
Yeah, I'd also probably say it's in the top 3.
What's it competing?
For sure. Well, I think for me, it's the whale. It's the whale. It's the warthog. Yeah, I'd say whale, warthog, and Yeah, and Tomahawk, it's weird. It's usually the ones that can hold the most troops. I think those are the most fun ones. You know, where it is kind of like a moving playset, as Paul said.
12 troops plus
what?
2 pilots.
Take that microphone.
Yeah, it definitely is in the top 3 vehicles. You really can't get away from how incredible this ominous looking helicopter is. Like, it's compact, but obviously with the rotors, it's compact, but it's beautiful. It makes sense in every way. Like, it feels real. But it also feels toyetic at the same time. It's gorgeous, and the purpose it serves, which is the same with, I think, with many of our ones. It's what it's getting there as well that kind of makes it interesting. It's what you can do with it is very varied in the way you can play with it.
Yeah, it's the story before and after the story,
Yeah.
The majesty of it, man. When you have some good spinning Tomahawk blades, and I have 2 loose Tomahawks, one spins exceptionally, one spins not so well. So there is some variance there. If you've got a set that spins so well, oh man, just cranking them up and then letting them go.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
It's one of life's great little treats. When I took my Tomahawk down off the shelf most recently to give it a clean, I felt that giddiness that like, oh, this is my favorite toy, guys. I'm getting hands-on time with it again. Oh, like even in the time post playing with toys, just the ability to like cram troops in there and just marvel at it. I never get tired of that. Yeah,
it will never get
and then
tiring.
the fact that you can then walk through the garden with this thing going whoop 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 whoop. It's not like pushing a jeep across the ground. It's not like sprinting with a jet in your arms. It's like a helicopter.
That's the thing. It has a very special way of playing with it, which is conducive to playing with it. Yeah, as you just said, Jet, you feel like you have to fucking run. Yeah.
Oh, the TAC also mentioned that the Tomahawk should have retractable landing gear. Like it makes reference to the fact that like it's with its landing gear down position.
Airwolf.
So, I mean, we often see images of the Tomahawk in media with no landing gear. So it's easy to see how it would look, at least on the page or in the cartoon.
Yeah, with no landing gear. But I'd never ever thought that it would be a necessary thing for it. I mean, I just, it's not the same as like with aircraft where that would make a difference,
Aerodynamics still operate on a helicopter. You want to have a smooth configuration.
Minimize drag.
I'm curious to see how the toy would look with it kind of folded away.
Ooh.
Because it looks like...
You're going to snap yours off soon?
I would never do that. But like in the artwork that I'm showing off now, and it's just a small thumbnail, but they kind of have like covers. Like the rear landing gear would go into those housings. If you're familiar with the Tomahawk, you know that the rear landing gear is part of this kind of quite thick section at the back.
Yes. And that's the thing. I mean, like even the Eagle Hawk comes with them already pre-attached. I think it's only the forward one that actually is detached, and you can put it on there. You have to pop it on. So even in toy form, it would be very difficult to get it to look different from without landing gear.
It'd be a cool mod. If anyone out there is prepared to do it,
please do rip those landing gear off.
Well, just find a way to recess the nose wheel into the belly of the craft, and also get the rear wheels to kind of fit into that housing. I mean there is a kind of a nice arch for those rear wheels to kind of ascend into.
I wonder if that's something they considered doing at one point, but then they kind of chose not to do it. Because I mean, as like a vehicle with kind of like extra play features, it is very, I wouldn't say sparse. Obviously it's got the spinning rotors.
Holy shit!
And all of the
sparse on features.
Well, I mean, sparse as in like
we haven't talked about the winch yet.
Okay, the winch, yes.
Oh god, we haven't even touched the winch.
I don't want to touch your winch. You do whatever you want.
I am And I'm so thankful for that. It's how we've maintained a friendship. So
thankfully, Paul had. I mean, with my Eagle, because Paul has messed with my winch before, though. He made it work a lot better than it originally was. So he doesn't want me to touch his winch, but he'll touch mine. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, your E-Hawk's winch is longer now as a result of my meddling. So.
Oof. Well, I appreciate it.
I can't speak to that, but like it is so nice. And on G.I. Joe Big Play Motions, we featured it to the max. Sling loading an Ore Striker in our first Tomahawk outing in Blazing Sand Part 1.
Gorgeous.
Oh, man. The nose gun having the optics on the one side and sort of a triad of optics. So I suppose infrared, night vision, heat, whatever.
Yeah. They do describe night vision on the blueprints.
The range of motion you've got with it is not extreme, but it is all you're going to ever need if you're the gunner sitting in the front.
But what I meant by like panels on the things, features, I meant was like things that kind of affect the general shape of the thing. Yes. I mean,
like play
that's what
features.
I mean. Your play, I mean, yes. I mean, like if you had folding, landing gear, that would be a lot more. That's big. But like folding landing gear, that would be a big design thing that they have to incorporate into the body of the Tomahawk. I mean, what I'm trying to say is like generally it's a very straightforward shape. There are lots of things to play with, but they're kind of self-contained. Where it doesn't affect like the shape of the thing. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Superfluous tail rotor has a knob that gives it such a lovely spin. I mean, it doesn't have to be there, but the Tomahawk just wouldn't look right without it. So
it would look very weird. And I think they probably added that as well to kind of make it look a little bit less like a Sea Knight.
It's a real cool thing, I think, as well.
It is the best. Anyway, I think we've expanded upon this helicopter for an hour.
Lyrical. Yeah, it's great though that we have. I mean, we probably said a lot of new things. We probably treaded old ground in our years of talking about this thing. But it's nice to have it all in one place, and kind of expound on aspects of it maybe we haven't spoken about before.
Well, I can't get enough of talking about this toy. So
join us for 363, where we'll talk again about the Tomahawk,
and maybe this time mention lift ticket.
Ooh.
Yeah, okay. On the way out, do you have something you'd like to say on the topic, Paul?
How cool
I think I just want to go around the room and go, who's your Peter pilot? Because I mean, Lift Ticket is the guy that pilots this thing. So who sits with him? Is it Airborne? Is it Wild Bill?
I think by default I would put Airborne in there. Especially because I mean I had Airborne. I had Airborne as a modern era figure. Did I? I feel like I did. Yes. I did, yes. So he would be my default. I would put in there with him. Either he would be in the front or he'd move to the back to be able to handle, stuff in the back there. So I think he was my default for the Eagle Hawk because of modern era figures.
Yeah, for the most part, because it's because of modern era. I don't have a modern era Airborne, so for me it was Wild Bull. Because there is a Wild Bull that comes with a decent, like kind of almost like a flight suit kind of vibe. And he was pretty rad to have as my Peter pilot. But I think on the vintage one, I also kind of I like the idea. I've seen sci-fi in the Peter pilot seat on a Tomahawk, and I think that's pretty cool. That's fun, I don't know what kind of technical advantage him being there serves, but I like that, and that's So that's for me. Steve?
I can answer that question right now. What kind of technical advantage he serves? Well, if you are operating a laser-guided minigun, 20mm cannon, get the laser trooper to laser the targets. He does have a pretty teched-out helmet, so just as the box art suggests, put sci-fi in the co-pilot position.
Yeah, also skirts the rules. He's got his weapon there in the canopy.
Ridiculous.
He's like absolutely ridiculous. He's like
open the canopy.
He's using it to paint the target, Paul. He's got it on a low intensity beam. That's it.
Yeah.
But I mean, so much G.I. Joe media double up on pilots. Getting There had not only Lift Ticket, but Wild Bill as the sort of well, Lift Ticket was operating as his first officer, I think. Oh no, Wild Bill was Lift Ticket's
In his
first officer.
own
but
vehicle?
Wild Bill was the ranking, like he was in charge of the mission, but it was Lift Ticket's helicopter.
There we go.
I think that was how it kind of played out. It's confusing as to which is the captain and which is the first officer's seat in a helicopter, because typically your captain is on the right. Oh, he's on the left. But because a helicopter, you're using both arms and both feet constantly. It makes more sense for the person doing the majority of the flying to be on the right, so that the collective is in the middle. Anyway, I don't know. This is just what Google has told me about who sits where on a helicopter.
Well, Lift Ticket is certainly interesting. I mean, although like his file card essentially just makes him sound very capable. There's nothing like real extra to the detailing of to Lift Ticket. It's just like he got into the school with the super high marks, and even he was surprised about how smart he was. And he's just like, he's the guy you want to fly you into a place, but also to definitely fly you out. So there's nothing much to him, at least character-wise, from the file card.
Well, he's got that annoying trait of being super good, but also super humble. You know? Like he didn't really think he was worthy of being an officer, in spite of the fact that his marks suggested otherwise.
Yeah,
but he's just a very proficient guy, and absolutely, like the Tomahawk is his ride.
And practical as well. I think the file card also mentions like he chose the one that felt like it had more, I think, civilian application.
Right.
So he went with the one that would help him out overall.
After
so if he didn't make it into the army or whatever, you know, the Air Force, he could use that, after he left. So very practical
firefighting
dude too.
Yeah.
But I think all the chopper pilots are Tomahawk pilots first and foremost.
For sure.
And then you branch out beyond that. Just like in
more specialist.
In Vietnam, I suppose everyone was a Huey Iroquois pilot, and then you specialize as a Cobra attack helicopter pilot or a Little Bird pilot.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, man. So Flint would be a good choice, or anyone who's got Whirlybird experience. Maybe Lady J.
Maybe.
Yeah, because
Starduster.
Stardust.
Who are your gunners, boys?
Ooh. Guns. Damn. That's
actually thanks to my vintage collection that's grown so well. Repeater, actually somebody I like using for the
Repeater's a good one.
Door gunner.
Repeater.
And I do kind of default to Roadblock or Rock and Roll.
Well, he's on the packaging, as we just saw.
Yeah, but
it's kind of an easy one to do.
But I also like the idea of like Roadblock like hanging on and like sort of using his gun from the door.
Sure, man.
Leaving somebody else to man the door.
So he's like the third gunner, actually.
He's the third gunner.
Yeah. Yeah, Roadblock's good. Gung Ho, I think, would be another good one. Yeah, that would probably be the two kind of like go-tos.
Torpedo.
Torpedo.
His little feet dangling.
Something to do.
Sensibly, I sometimes put like helicopter assault gunners like Crazy Legs or Starduster in the back. But as it so happens, just for special tonight, I chose Quick Kick. I mean, he doesn't come with a gun, but like if you read, his swan song before he died in Trucial Abysmia, he was the guy who picked up that hog. So he's a machine gunner.
He can do it if he wants to. Exactly.
Good.
Gets him closer to the earth, more grounded, able to, shoot.
Get some.
Touch grass.
Get some. Get some. Full Metal Jacket flooding back. All right, boys, let's call it a day. Call it a night. Say bye-bye.
So good.
Yo, Joe,
hello.
You sexy people. Yep.
Love you guys. You're the best.
Thank you for the support and for just all the good things that you guys have been doing for us. And we're still a channel, we're still doing stuff, and that's because of your support. So thank you very much. And this is for the patrons and the YouTube members. So, and I hope you've been enjoying the extra content that we've been doing. So
yeah, please, enjoy it as long as you can. Just,
And if you made it this far, was the Tomahawk was the Tomahawk the star of your playtimes as a kid or even as a grown-up? Do you hate this vehicle for some reason or another? Let us know in the comments. And who is your pilot combo and sort of troop combo? Who's getting a ride on the Tomahawk, on your Tomahawk? Let us know.
Yeah, who's riding in on the Tomahawk? Who's getting there?
Yeah. And until the next one, remember to play with your toys, guys. And Joe.
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 Berg.